closed due to engineering works. You've been called on to assist with the trains being turned back at Ealing Broadway.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. We're back on Train Sim World 2 and the Great Western Express. So this is the Christmas closures scenario, which is the first time actually I've played it on the PS5 version. I played it a couple of times previously on the PS4. Does look good on PS5. So I've been spending some time going back doing the old scenarios, and I can see collectibles there. Let me nip across the track. You're not meant to do this. Of course there's no climb up feature yet on this, so we got up the edge of the platform. Yeah, don't run across the tracks ever like I'm doing. I've been going back and revisiting some of these older scenarios just to see what they look like and cover off any trophies and things that we got for the PS5. And Great West Express, I've not spent that much time on it, to be honest, since being on the PS5. Apart from playing quite a bit of the Diesel Legends pack. But it is known for the HST, so I wanted to run something in this train today. It's about a 40-minute scenario, as I recall. So this is our train.
Thanks for helping out today. With your local knowledge, the manoeuvres at Ealing Broadway should go smoothly. When you're ready, take control of the train.
So we're going to go down to Ealing Broadway. We're then going to go into Acton Yard, and I believe what we do then is turn around, we go to the other end, and we do the return journey. Just take a screenshot there. Oh, we've got the nice view of the sun. So we can start to get the cab set up, ready to go. Now of course we're on classic controls here, which we all used for many years, and now it confuses me because I always use the immersion controls. Let's get the AWS on, the driver's safety device. And the passengers are just boarding right now. Put the reverser into forward. Oh, it looks good for screenshots. That was close. And that's why you should never run on the track, because you just don't know when the train is coming. So take my advice. If you do go looking for collectibles, be careful. Actually, collectibles on this route, there was never a trophy for collectibles on this route. So I didn't ever collect the full set. I just tend to hop out when I see them at the station, so I may do that because this route is one that's worth walking the whole distance. There's a lot of scenery you miss at high speed. So we're ready to go. Bit of snow on the ground, so we may get some slippage. And the requirement is notch 3, which will hopefully avoid that. Let's have a look outside. So we just got 13 miles down to Ealing Broadway. And then, as I say, we do the turnaround because in this scenario Paddington is shut, so we can't go as far as Paddington, so we're only operating as far as Ealing Broadway. So I'm hoping in this 13 miles we actually do get to 125 miles per hour. That'd be good. There's a 166 there on the right just going in. It does look good, I have to admit. Now, I've never travelled on one of these in real life, so I'm not sure whether or not this sound is authentic or not. Although, scanning the forums over the years, I haven't seen too many complaints about the sound of this particular loco, so I'm assuming it's pretty good. It's a nice loco to drive. So we're still getting some... I put it in notch 4, but we're still getting some wheel slip. That's a bit better. There is a tendency in this to want to try and speed up straight away, because it is a fast train. So this route has had certain improvements over time, but if you saw the DTG roadmap stream last night, there are some further improvements coming. So at Ealing Broadway, there will be there'll be a static underground train on the other side of the platform, which will be quite nice to see. And Acton Yard itself will be filled with various static Class 66s and rail wagons. It'll just give it that more filled up feel. They did that, I think, as well on Southeastern High Speed, and they put some freight cars in the depot there, and it just looks, even though they're not moving, it just looks so much better. So I'm all for that kind of thing. The preservation crew have done a lot of work on this route, but unfortunately that work hasn't been released. All the preservation crew updates are meant to be released by June, and there are 17 different packages across the various routes that need to be released. Some of those have gone through testing and have already passed. Some are still yet to do that. So June is the target, which is still quite a way off. But at least we have some kind of date this time. So we're speeding up nicely. 10 miles to go. A very sharp winter's morning, 3 minutes past 9. Got some cab sway. I think I have the cab sway set to about 50%, so it's not overly swaying, but this amount of cab sway is just about enough for me. It's difficult to think of the old days in TSW where cab sway wasn't a thing and you just didn't move at all. Everything was solid. Doesn't matter when you went around a corner or you came to a sudden stop, you just didn't move in the seat at all. So this was a nice feature. They do keep adding little features as we go through, and it's nice to see that they're going back and developing the old stuff further. Some would argue that some of this stuff should have been in from the beginning, but if it doesn't stop me playing the game, I'm not too worried. But it is nice to see them keep developing things, and as new technology comes available in the new routes, they're going back in some cases and porting it back to the older routes. And this route in particular has been popular. This was one of the first routes that came in the original game, of course, and it would have been this route that got a lot of people into playing Train Sim World, and it remains very popular. But as mentioned at the top, recently I've been playing more of the Diesel Legends pack on this route. Now I'm not a railway purist. I don't know the railway in as much detail as some people. So with the Diesel Legends pack, for example, a lot of people didn't like the fact that the actual route setting remained the same, but with a full timetable of older locos. I can kind of get past that. I understand the need for authenticity. I do understand that. But for playability, I was dying to give some of these old locos a blast, especially things like the Class 31, which I quite like, which was a local DLC for Tees Valley. I just wanted to give that a blast. The Class 52 that we got, the maroon Class 52 that we got for West Somerset Railway as well, we'd only ever been able to go to 25 miles an hour on West Somerset. So to be able to drive one of those westerns on this route at full blast is good for me, and especially, you know, in my case, I'm also chasing trophies. The Class 52 has a trophy for completing 520 miles. Well, 520 miles just running on the West Somerset Railway is a bit of an achievement. So at least now that we can use it on this route and actually other routes via the scenario planner, some of those really grindy trophies, if you do collect those, you can get those, you know, fairly easily. There's a bit of work still required, but certainly they're a bit more achievable than they were previously. So, you know, you can go for full realism, or if you choose to and you don't have to, you can bypass some of that and just have some fun instead. So I like to do a bit of a mix of both, really. And you can see that on the channel. Just have a look at some of the off the rails. I even had the Class 66 running on the London Underground, which is absolutely ridiculous, but it was good fun. The only problem with that one was the 66 being quite big. It was clipping through some of the tunnels, which really does take away any of the realism that was ever left for that scenario. But still, it was good fun, and it's actually one of the most popular videos I've got on the channel. People wanted to see the 66 somewhere where it shouldn't be, so that was quite interesting. So we'll start putting some brakes on, because we are approaching Ealing Broadway, and we've got a yellow coming up. We've probably got a double yellow here followed by a single. Just acknowledge that. So that's a double yellow, just over half a mile to the next yellow. Just slowing down quite nicely. I love the sound of the brakes on this one as well, the hiss of the brakes. Just over half a mile, so we do have a red at the end of the platform. Might be slowing down a tad too quickly, but that's fine. We don't want to overshoot, certainly, and go for that red. And in this particular scenario, we don't have a target stop time up in the top left hand corner, so we don't really know whether we're ahead of time or behind schedule anyway, so it doesn't really matter as long as we arrive in one piece. Just keep nudging the power slightly. We should be able to roll in now for this remaining time. So we'll just creep along and get as near to the marker as we can. That's pretty good, pleased with that. So what we need to do is get everybody off, because this is where we're terminating. Doesn't seem to be many people getting off. There was a few got on when we started, but I don't know where they've gone or what they're playing at. Yeah, got to add a screenshot. This one looks like a good one. So we may as well take those screenshots because we're just waiting for passengers to get off the train if they so desire, or they'll be taking a trip to the sidings. So we're nearly there.
Okay, you're cleared.
She was telling us that we are clear to shunt into Acton Yard, which is where we'll change ends and go back. So let's get underway. So from here, we should move across, all the way across to the left hand side to go into Acton Yard. It's coming up on our left hand side. So we should be able to see the feathers on this signal telling us we're going left. It's actually just over a mile from this station to Acton Yard. It doesn't feel that far away actually when you're driving it. So that's a single yellow. Next signal is also yellow, so we're good for now. We'll just keep the speed down. So we're going to traverse all the way over to the left across several sets of points, so we don't want to be going too fast. I'm sure there is a limit. I can't remember what the limit is, but there will be a limit for going across. So once we get into Acton Yard, well, we've got 30 coming up, which is what I was referring to. So we'll need to get the speed down. So this is Acton Yard that we're coming into, as we see the shunt signal there underneath the red. So we're okay to shunt. We're going down to a 15. Once in Acton Yard, you'll see it's pretty dead in Acton Yard. There's not a lot going on now in real life. This would be, you know, fairly full, fairly sort of busy area for freight, and as I mentioned, they reported last night in the roadmap stream and showed some examples that there will be some static traffic in this depot, in this yard, so it will just add to the overall feel of realism and the route being full, which is, you know, I'm all for it. I don't really mind if they don't move. It would be great if they were animated and they were moving up and down in the yard, but you know, obviously there are memory concerns and different resource concerns there where that's concerned. So static is fine as long as the place looks lived in. That's good. We've got 200, just over 200 yards. We need to be careful with the speed because there is a red ahead of us. So we'll just bring it into a nice stop. Apply some brake.
Good work. Close down the desk and walk to the other cab.
So here we go. Let's set the reverser to engine off. Turn off the master key. We'll just do this first. We'll turn off the DSD and AWS, and then we'll do the master key, and we'll take that with us. Put it on tail lights. So now we can go to the other end. So you can't walk through this HST. We seem to be too far away to actually close the door, so we'll do it that way. Check the tail lights. So we could go in through this door in the first carriage and walk along. However, in the interest of time, we will we'll run along the track, and that's because in the settings I have got the default movement speed set to run. You can change that to be walk or run, whichever you prefer. So let's do the same procedure again. AWS, DSD before we sit down.
You're all good to go. Depart as soon as you're ready. A successful job, I think.
Well, it is a successful job if you count just going halfway, so we've got to go all the way back yet. So let's get the master key on. Put that in forward. Acknowledge the warning. Headlights to daytime. Now let's look for the gauge lights. The gauge lights are around here somewhere. There we are. Put that up to the top. Put in some power. Notch 3 again until we get underway. The brakes do take a little time just to come off. So that's the brakes off, so we're underway. So we're going to go back into Ealing Broadway. We're going to pick up passengers for the return journey, and then we're going to complete that final run back to our starting point. So we're in a 15 miles per hour limit at the moment, and just past the signal we'll get the 30. No need to change any of the points in this yard. This is all signal controlled, so there's nothing we need to do manually. So we're just about to come out back onto the main line. we're still in that 15 miles per hour. In fact, the train has just cleared the 30, so we can speed up a little bit. This is one of those trains where it feels solid when you're driving. It feels solid. Good viewing position. You know, good lookout, good field of view. In my opinion, the field of view is good, and it just feels solid. Just feels solid. It reacts to the controller very well. You can imagine thundering along at 125 miles per hour in one of these. So we're back at Ealing Broadway, but it's going to switch us. I think it's going to switch us to the other track. So we should go left here. So we've already got another one there in the station, coming the way that we've just been. So he'll be doing the same thing. He'll be going into Acton Yard and he'll be turning around to follow us back. But by the time he does that, we should be well gone, so there shouldn't be any issues. He's probably waiting there for us to leave the yard so he can go in. So we've got a few people on the platform here ready to go back the other way. So you can see the platform information systems are not working in this release, but again, that is something that's complete now, that they've worked on and will come in one of the updates before June. And that again will add to the immersion. It also gives you a new way to play the game, because if you want to go into service mode, you want to jump out at this station, you can just wait on the platform, have a look at the screens there, see when the next one's coming in, jump on that, take control of that, and you can hop amongst different stations up and down the line, just taking over random services, just using the platform information system as a guide. So I might do some of that, especially on the German routes. I've not done it yet, but I will do it. Okay, so we're good for Slough, home of the Mars Bar and The Office and various other TV programs you may have seen. So we're in notch 3 again. We'll just build that power up, then we don't wheel slip. And there's yet another HST going the other way. So they're quite regular, even though in this scenario we can't go to Paddington. The services don't seem to have been reduced any, so plenty of activity in Acton Yard. We're all turning around. Start to build this up. We'll see if we can get back up to the 125 for the return journey. So the layout of this cab reminds me a little bit of when I worked for British Rail many years ago now, many more years than I care to remember. I think it was a Class 91. My memory is not what it was. But on the other end, they had a DVT, or driver vehicle. It was like a dummy, sort of like the DOS doors, where you take the power from the engine at the back. And it inside reminded me of this slightly. And I was coming back from doing some work in Glasgow, actually, and I knew the particular driver on the service which was bringing me back to Preston, and he said to me I could hop in this DVT, this remote vehicle, with him and travel back to Preston, which I did, which was really, really good. The feeling of speed, it was something else, and it was really, really a pleasant trip. And we just, after we left Carlisle and we were on our way back, we came over Shap, and just the other side of Shap we went into a flock of birds at speed. So obviously I thought the glass was coming in, I thought the windscreen was coming in, and I nearly shot out of the chair. The sound was so loud, and the thing was, you could see it coming. You could see them flying from the right hand side, and you knew something was going to happen. And I reacted and jumped out of the chair, and the driver had seen it all before, simply just put his windscreen wipers on, wiped it off, and we carried on. And I'll never forget that. That's why I particularly remember that story, because I didn't get to travel in the cab much. My job was mainly office based, but I did get to know a few of the rail crew, and so sometimes when I was travelling to, I did a spell in Manchester. Sometimes when I was going to Manchester, the conductor or guide, if I knew them, would let me sit in the rear cab of the Class 150 and travel between Preston and Manchester. That happened quite often, so that was quite good. So the Class 91 story, though, just reminds me of this, and the speed that this one gets up to. It's something else to actually be there in the cab while this is going on. So it's a completely different experience, which you obviously can't get anywhere else. Happy days, happy days. So in this run we're making good progress. We've got just over 9 miles now till we get to Slough, and the speed's building up nicely. We're approaching 100 miles per hour. Just gone past the gas giant on the right. I believe that's Southall station. I don't know if you noticed, the visibility going back this direction is slightly worse than it was the other way. Now I don't know if that's intentional. We had a pretty good view. If you remember, we had a clear view of the sun when we were coming the other direction, but now the visibility seems to have almost gone, you know, you can almost believe it is a snowy day and the temperature's dipped, and so there is that cold haze coming across the lines in front of us. But we've got green signals, so we've got a clear run at the moment. 7 miles to Slough. And the faster we get, the more the cab sway comes into effect, you can see. So we're still accelerating. We just touched 117 miles per hour, so let's see if we can get to that 125 just before we have to slow down. We should be able to. We've still got 5 miles. So that's 120. Of course, the Creators Club is coming very soon, and I'm sure there are some very talented people out there that have created new liveries for this loco and many of the others. I remember my Hornby train set when I was a kid. I did have this Class 43 in the intercity colours, the blue and yellow intercity. And I'd love to have that. That does remind me of being a kid. I'd love to see that if somebody's been clever enough. I can't create them. I'm useless at that sort of thing. Although I have promised myself that I will try. As we just hit the 125 now, we'll slow down. We'll just roll. I will create some of these liveries. I do have one that I've created, which I started doing as a kind of branding really for the YouTube channel, with Tintin 57 slapped everywhere on it. It's a class, I think it's a class 314 for Cathcart Circle was the one that I actually painted, but it's very, very basic. I'd be embarrassed to upload that to Creators Club. If there was such a thing as minus downloads, that would probably get it, but I will work on it. But yeah, my efforts are embarrassing compared to some people. Some very, very clever people there, and I'm looking forward to sampling some of these different liveries, and indeed some of the scenarios that everybody's created as well. That will also breathe some new life into some of these routes. So 77 miles per hour, we've got just under a mile till we get to Slough, so we're getting plenty of warnings now. There's a single yellow just there, so we're red signal next. Plenty of time, plenty of distance to come down. So we'll just let the brakes off now, see if we can roll in this remaining 800 yards. So as I say, this is not a long scenario, it's quite pleasant. Just do a there and back, fairly easy to do. Gives you a good chance to have a little go with the HST, which is what I always call it. It is a class 43 of course, but I tend to call it the HST. And here is Slough Station. I worked in Slough for a while. I remember walking around, there was always the smell of chocolate coming from the Mars factory. Very pleasant smell. We don't quite get the smells here on Trains in World 2. That's probably going beyond the realms of programming and the abilities of PCs and consoles to be able to do that, but you know, I can imagine it. I can imagine it in my mind. So the red is right at the end of this platform, so it's one of those where the stop marker is pretty close. So you need to just be careful. There is a bit of space between the end of the platform and the signal. So we're 5 yards from the marker. I'm pretty happy with that. Let's get the doors unlocked again. And that will be the end of the scenario. So I hope you guys have enjoyed it. Please do leave me a like if you did, and also subscribe if you haven't done so already. And thanks very much to everybody that's subscribed so far. I'm nearly at that 500 subscribers mark. I'm getting there. I'm crawling towards it. That's the main goal. And I thank everybody for joining me and all the comments you leave on these videos. It's much appreciated. I do enjoy reading those and responding to all of them whenever I can. So I'll let these passengers off. That will be the end of the scenario, and I will be back quite soon with more from Train Sim World and the other games we've been playing on channel. Take care, thanks again, and speak to you on the next one.
That seemed to all run smoothly. We made a good team there. Have a great day.